What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Full 90. Now, first of all, I just want to say this is going up at 6 p.m. It is the Week 32 Premier League predictions, but also in 2 hours' time at 8 p.m, I'm going to be uploading my FA Cup quarter-final predictions. So subscribe and turn on the bell, and please smash a like, because the last Premier League prediction video got over 140 likes and 0 dislikes, which was absolutely phenomenal for my first video back in such a long time. Now, I want to give a shout out to Justin Jr., who left his predictions on the previous predictions video, predicting both Manchesters to lose, predicting Liverpool to drop points, and predicting Arsenal to lose. So it caused a bit of controversy in the comments, but I really appreciate the comments. If you want to be featured in the next episode of the Premier League predictions, then drop your score predictions down in the comments below. And even if you want to leave another comment, I saw another few comments from people saying that they were happy I was back, and that really made me happy. So definitely subscribe, check out these Premier League predictions, and then in 2 hours' time, you can check out the FA Cup predictions. Now, before we get into Week 32, let's take a little look back at Week 31, the Premier League restart. It could have been better. It wasn't terrible, but there were a few where I did miss the mark. Kicking it off, we had Leicester versus Brighton. I predicted a 2-1 win to Leicester, and it was a 0-0 draw. Could have been a 1-0 win to Brighton had they scored that penalty. After that, we have Tottenham versus West Ham. I predicted a 3-0 win to Tottenham, and it was a 2-0 win to Tottenham, so not too bad. I did say in the video maybe I was flattering Tottenham a little bit with a 3-0 win, so I was pretty much right there. Manchester United up against Sheffield United. I predicted a 2-1 win to Man United, and it was actually a 3-0 win to Man United. Very good performance from them. Newcastle Aston Villa is the frustrating one, because I originally predicted 1-1 Newcastle Aston Villa, and it did end 1-1. But in the video, having just seen Aston Villa lose to Chelsea and Newcastle beat Sheffield United, I decided to just be a bit ballsy and back Newcastle for a 2-1 win. But then they ended up drawing 1-1 either way, which is a little bit annoying for me. So no actual perfect scores this week. Norwich versus Everton, I predicted a 2-1 away win to Everton, and it was a 1-0 away win to Everton. I think if I put a bit more time into that prediction, I probably could have gone for a 1-0. After that, we had Wolves versus Bournemouth. I predicted a 2-0 win to Wolves. Again, I wasn't far away. It was a 1-0 win in the end. Liverpool Crystal Palace, I got the right amount of goals, I got the right result, but I just didn't distribute them quite correctly. I predicted a 3-1 win to Liverpool, and Liverpool finally showed up and showed us why they are Premier League champions officially now, beating Crystal Palace comfortably 4-0. Burnley versus Watford, I couldn't decide which way, so I predicted a 1-1 draw, but I did say in the video it wouldn't surprise me if Burnley won 1-0, and they did win 1-0, so again, it's like not a correct prediction, but I kind of would have gone that way on another day. Southampton Arsenal, I predicted a 2-2 draw. And looking at the stats, Southampton did have some chances, but it seems Arsenal held up defensively solidly for once and won 2-0, which is absolutely crazy. And then Chelsea Man City, I predicted a 2-1 win to Man City, and it went the other way, 2-1 to Chelsea. So that's Week 31. It was an okay return, but we're looking for better this week. So as I said, leave your predictions for Week 32 down in the comments, drop a like, and let's get into it. Kicking it off, we have Aston Villa up against Wolves. Villa looking dangerous. I believe the bookies have got them favourites for one of the relegation spots, which is kind of scary, considering the amount of money that they spent. But I do think Wolves are going to get this away win, and Wolves are very much in a top 4 race, with Leicester dropping points left, right and centre, and Wolves just picking up clinical wins. They are very much in the chance of being in the top 4, it has to be said. Will they get it? I don't think they will. I think there's too many other teams, Man United being the main candidate, competing with them for it. But if they keep winning, who knows? I'm going to go for a 2-1 away win to Wolves. I think their attack just looks too strong. Villa, they've got a goal in them. That's pretty much all I see at the moment. I'm going to go for a 2-1 away win to Wolves. The next fixture, quite a difficult one to predict. Watford versus Southampton. Watford last week, what was the result? They lost 1-0 to Burnley. And Watford's a really tough one. Southampton's a really tough one. Both inherently quite attacking teams, but both failing to get on the score sheet in Week 31. I think they'll both score in this week. I think Danny Ings is going to come back with a goal. Maybe Deeney for Watford. The people you might expect to score. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, but this is similar to the Watford-Burnley game. A Watford win, a Southampton win, a draw. Neither of those would surprise me as far as a result goes, so I'm going in the middle. Crystal Palace versus Burnley up next, and Crystal Palace, last week, they got absolutely demolished by Liverpool. It was a different class, and Burnley doing what Burnley do. Even with some of the absentees, they kept it tight and managed to get the 1-0 win. I think Palace, they're just above Burnley in the table. I think 10th and 11th, actually. And I think Palace, they are I think they are a slightly better team. I think 10th and 11th reflects them fairly well. And for some reason, I just don't see Burnley getting back-to-back wins. I think it's going to be low scoring this time because Palace won't have Liverpool's attack to deal with. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win to Crystal Palace. But again, this is that's quite a tough fixture to predict the result, in my opinion. Coming up after that, something that should be a little bit easier, maybe. It's Brighton up against Manchester United. And obviously, Brighton could have had all 3 points from Leicester, but ended up getting a draw. And the week before, turning it around, coming from behind to beat Arsenal in an absolutely just outrageous game. So Brighton, actually, 2 very tough fixtures and 2 very good results for them. But Manchester United are in a different level of form. Paul Pogba's come back after the break, and he still looks so sharp. Fernandes looks good as always. Manchester United just look good, and they do look like really strong contenders for the top 4. And I think against Brighton, United do have a pretty good record. I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna go for a Man United win. I think they're unbeaten in a very, very long time, and they tend to keep clean sheets as well recently. So I'm gonna go for a 2-0 win to Manchester United. Now the next game is Arsenal up against Norwich. Now I don't care what you say, Arsenal might be in pretty dodgy form, even though they actually managed to keep an away clean sheet. Arsenal, there is no excuse. Arsenal should never, ever lose to Norwich at the Emirates. Fans, no fans, poor form, good form, they should never lose to Norwich. So I'm going to back them in a big way. I don't see back-to-back clean sheets for Arsenal because it's just not something I'm used to seeing. But I'm going to go for a 3-1 home win to Arsenal in that fixture. Now, coming up after that, we have Bournemouth up against Newcastle. This one was a tough one. I originally predicted a draw, but Newcastle have a pretty decent record against Bournemouth. They are going into the game in much better form. Bournemouth in probably the worst form out of all the teams in the league, and it looks dangerous for them. So I'm going to be brave and say Newcastle can get an away win, because I feel like for some of the bigger teams, not the massive teams like Man City, Liverpool, but some of the teams like Arsenal, Tottenham, maybe even Chelsea. I think Chelsea did lose to Bournemouth, actually. Going away to Bournemouth is quite tough. It's a small little ground. I've actually been there. I watched Bournemouth play in League 1 and League 2 back in the day. But I think Newcastle won't be as affected. They are much better at home. So, to be honest, I would say I think Bournemouth are statistically the favourites, but I'm going to go for a surprise little away win. Newcastle to win 2-1. I think they're just in better goal-scoring form, and perhaps they're going to take that into this game. Tough one again. Very tough fixtures this week. And coming up, it doesn't get any easier because we have Everton up against Leicester. I looked at this and initially I just thought they're fairly evenly matched. Everton slightly lower in the league. Leicester certainly this season have been a better team, but recently their form hasn't looked that great, and Everton have been alright, very low scoring games. I think this will be low scoring again as well. And then I was thinking maybe I could put Everton to win because Everton have a very good home record. And Leicester, like I said, not in the best form. But I couldn't bring myself to give Everton the 2-1 win. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. The next fixture, given the recent form again as well, I think it should be quite easy to predict. West Ham up against Chelsea. Chelsea haven't put more than 2 goals past West Ham in the last 6 meetings, I don't think. But they consistently do put a couple in. And I think both games in the restart, since the restart, Chelsea have won 2-1. However, I don't think West Ham are going to be able to score because they're really struggling in front of net, losing 2-0 to Tottenham. And then the week before West Ham, the result was, if I can find it, a 2-0 loss to Wolves. So West Ham have lost their last 2 games 2-0. Chelsea have scored 2 in their last 2 games. I'm going to put that together and say a comfortable enough 2-0 away win to Chelsea. I didn't realise how well my score prediction actually reflected the previous 2 games for both teams, but looking at the screen, it actually does. Now, coming up, Sheffield United up against Tottenham. Tottenham haven't had a bad restart. They're winning 2-0 against West Ham and drawing 1-1 with an inform Manchester United, and Sheffield United having a pretty terrible restart, losing 3-0 on both occasions. The break wasn't good for them. There are some teams that have come back. They look good. Sheffield United aren't one of them. They've got a few injuries as well, and I think this is going to be a tough game for Sheffield United. I think they will finally get a goal, but I think Tottenham are just getting used to winning now. I think Jose Mourinho will set them up in a way that maybe even allows them to play Sheffield United on the counter-attack, which is a little bit negative, some might say, but I'm going to go for a 2-1 away win to Tottenham. And now coming up, the game of the week at the Etihad, Manchester City versus Liverpool, thanks to Chelsea's performance against City. Liverpool have already won the league and won't need to do so here, but I don't know if they'll have any actual celebrations at the Etihad, or if that's how it works, if there's a ceremony at the Etihad, because this is the first game they played since becoming champions, because it wasn't a result of Liverpool's that allowed them to win. It was a result of Man City, so it's not like they could have the ceremony at Stamford Bridge or anything like that. So maybe there'll be a ceremony here. I'm not entirely sure, but I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I don't see Liverpool going away and winning, but seeing how well Liverpool played against Crystal Palace was unreal. And Manchester City looked a little bit off the pace against Chelsea. So it's a difficult one, because the first week when Man City destroyed Arsenal, City looked amazing. And Liverpool against Everton, Liverpool looked very, very rusty. And then the next week, Liverpool looked unreal. And Manchester City looked, pretty good. But, so it's very hard to base it on recent form. And we don't know how psychologically this game's going to go, given that Man City have got second place, Liverpool have got first place. So it's very, very tough to predict this one. So I think it's just going to be goals galore, because there's nothing to play for, really. Nothing in terms of league position. And all it is pride. So I think teams will go more attacking. Liverpool love to attack. Man City love to attack, so I'm going to go for a 2-2. But that is going to do it for the Week 32 Premier League predictions. If you did enjoy it, be sure to leave a like. As I've said, subscribe, because there's so many videos coming up. I've just done the schedule for the rest of the season. Premier League, FA Cup, Europa League, and Champions League all going forward into August, which is going to be very, very exciting. And as I said, in a couple of hours' time, you can see the FA Cup quarterfinal predictions on this channel. So that's going to do it from me, and I will see you in that video very soon.